Hi, everyone. My name is Eric D'Souza, and joining me today is Joanne Paulson. Joanne is a journalist, editor, communications consultant, mystery writer, and also a writer of other books. And luckily for us, she is the Saskatchewan representative for Crime Writers of Canada. How are you today,
Um,
Joanne, sorry.
you can call me Joe for short. Everybody else does.
All right, let's keep it to Joe.
Yeah, I'm good today. How are you? Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
good too. I know I already asked you this question off air, but it's Saskatchewan in the winter. So what's it like today?
It's very lovely for Saskatchewan in the winter. We're going to have a high of -6, but very foggy in many parts. And we have the beautiful rime on the trees, so everything looks sort of fairy-like. It's very pretty, and
Yeah,
it's 40 below. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. When it's winter and not -10, it's always a bonus. It's
yep.
beautiful. Um, I mentioned in the very short introduction that you've tried your hand in other things other than mystery, but mystery seems to be the thing that you're sticking with. So, what's drawing you to mystery right now?
Well, I have loved mystery since I was a very, very young person, like very young, uh, and grew up reading a lot of Trixie Belden and Nancy Drew and the Bobbsey twins and Enid Blyton and the list goes on. I was entranced by it. Um, why that is exactly, I don't know. I've often wondered if it's because I'm a Virgo. No, I don't actually believe this. Um, and I have what they call the analytical critical brain. Like I always need a puzzle to solve, perhaps. I'm not sure. So as I got older and read more significant mysteries, um, I'm a huge fan of Dorothy Sayers, for example. Um, as I went along, I began to really notice that I was idealistically drawn to mysteries, and that has remained with me to this day. And that has a lot to do with why I became a journalist as well. Is You see the social injustices, you see the, you know, crimes born of evil, all the terrible things that happen in society, and you want to fix them, but you can't entirely unless you object in some way, and to begin with. So there I am. I suppose that whole thing sort of fit together. Um, so I have 5 mysteries in my Adam and Grace series, working on the 6th. One is a novella. Um, and I also recently published what I'm generally calling a historical fiction and a Western called Blood and Dust. I have a publisher for that book, and it consistently ranks better in historical mystery and thriller than it does in Western or Western romance. So I expect that the mystery tucked inside that book um, is also working okay. I hope it's a small part of it, but um, yeah, mystery is my first love, definitely among the genres.
Well, we had a good talk even before we hit record for the show today, and you were saying that every story has a mystery to it. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does, regardless of what the story is, like even if it's a romance, there's always a little bit of mystery that the reader is waiting to unpack by the end. One of the very simple ones is, will they or won't they? Will they or won't they fall in love? You know, I it's rare that I find a book where I don't pick up on myself anyway, responding as if this were a mystery. That doesn't mean it's a crime, but there's always a
Mhm.
mystery, right? And I find it very hard to read any book that doesn't have some sort of mystery or love story in it myself. These are the conditions of life. Um, but yeah, I think every book, almost at least very close to every book, has a mystery tucked inside of some kind. And it's just we have chosen, I suppose, as Crime Writers of Canada, to view that through the crime lens, which is certainly my preference too, of course.
Well, you write a lot about crime right now, but I saw from your website you like to balance it also with love. That you think love and hate go hand in hand. Um, could you talk a little bit more about that? Is there a lot of romance in your books?
There's quite a bit. Yep. I get I'm not sure if it's 50-50 here, but some people really like that because the love element softens the crime element. And some people have completely decided that I'm not a mystery writer at all, that I'm writing box rippers. And I think neither is true. I think when I got into this, I was really, first I think I saw the plot, but then very quickly I saw the characters. And one of them was a journalist.
Yeah.
She's not me, though. She's more the crime writers, the crime reporters that I used to work with day after day. And their world was fascinating to me. And then I had this handsome police officer. Well, what could I do? I mean, they had to get together, yeah? So to me, the relationship parts of the books are as important as the mysteries and the crimes. And they're not the only two who get together in my books either. So I couldn't see any other way of writing it, I suppose. Once I had the characters, it was, well, there you go. I also was really influenced again by Dorothy Sayers and her love story between Lord Peter Wimsey and the writer Harriet Vane. Profoundly influenced by that. I loved those stories, and I always felt that she did a beautiful job of balancing the love with the crime, and I wanted to write that. I just couldn't help myself, I suppose. There it was. But I do get a lot of flack for it, Eric.
Really?
A lot of flack from purists who just want their mysteries straight up.
Yeah, there's something for everyone. I'm reading more and more current fiction or crime stories that have a strong element of romance in them. And yeah, I have to admit, maybe because I'm a boy or something, I'm just like, okay, skim. When's the body gonna fall? Come on. but obviously there's a market for that.
Yeah, I mean, the romantic suspense market is enormous. I don't, in my view, I don't write romantic suspense. And when I put my book into, book funnel promos or whatever, and I've tried this a couple of times, putting it into a romantic suspense one, promos, what you end up with is having your cover surrounded by a lot of nude male torsos. And women in skimpy outfits and things like this. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing here, but there is definitely, I like to call it actually mystery plus love, not romance, which to me speaks of a different market, yeah.
There's another element in your writing. You talk about social injustice, and I'm going to borrow some lines from you that I found from your website. Fiction allows us to swallow the bitter pills of social injustice and still, hopefully, be entranced, entertained, entangled in their solutions. So do you like to tackle a lot of, serious current issues?
Yeah, that's really what I'm doing here, I think. When I stopped being an actual in-house editor and or reporter in various news organizations, I bet it's 7 years ago now. That didn't take the journalist out of me, and there was still a lot of points I wanted to make. I felt like my voice was not strong anymore being a freelance journalist, and that I think really drove me into the fiction writing. It was another avenue to object to things that are going on in society. And the reason I said swallowing the bitter pills of social injustice is that I'm really trying hard not to make it preachy. I'm trying to make it swallowable while still making a point. So, for example, I'll just give you a quick example. The first novel, you always start, when you're marketing your books, you always start with the first book.
At the beginning.
Right. Adam's Witness. So Adam's Witness is, Adam is the police officer, and Adam's Witness is the reporter, as I just mentioned. So the premise, which is based on an actual event, is that a church discriminates against the local gay choir, the Pride Choir, and will not allow them to perform in their cathedral. Now, I've had many people argue with me that it is the cathedral's right not to allow people to perform there. And I say 100%. If you want your sanctuary to be, reserved for religious events, 100%, that is your choice. This is your church. But when you allow the entire community to perform there, and discriminate against a particular organization because of its whatever, in this case, its orientation, that's wrong. And so that's the basic, that's the jumping off point for the crime, as the bishop gets killed.
Oh,
And the reporter stumbles over his body and meets the police officer, and off we are. So that's the sort of thing I object to. Yeah, the second book is about murdered and missing women, and so on.
okay. Well, let's talk Saskatchewan. I know I can't help it. Usually when I think Saskatchewan, well, first thought is the Rough Riders. You guys love your football.
They had a terrible year.
But you still support them.
We do. We love them.
I also think Gail Bowen. But I don't think of Saskatchewan as like a hotbed of writers. But I know I'm wrong because I follow the Saskatchewan Writers Guild, and I know they're very, very active. So how is the scene in Saskatchewan?
Oh, it's hot, thriving. It is always sad to me that people think, oh, this is this tiny province of one. We are now 1.2 million people, just as of very recently. Indeed, tiny province. Do you know that Saskatchewan is almost 3 times as big as the UK? I mean, this is a huge place, with 1.2 million little people in it. Considering that we have a thriving literary community, and we have for decades, some amazing and extremely well-known writers have come out of here. Gail Bowen, as you say, is one of them, the queen of crime fiction, in my view, who has some very sharp and intelligent things to say about locating your novels where you live. Because she was also, why are you putting your novels in Regina? Nobody knows where that is. And she's like, well, crime takes place everywhere, and here we are, and live with it. Love that. We have an awful lot of famous writers here. Guy Vanderhaeghe, for example, multiple winner of the Governor General's Awards, whose last book you could argue is a mystery in a sense. Fabulous book, August into Winter. And, days gone by, Sinclair Ross, W.O. Mitchell, Jan Martel, the winner of the Booker Prize for The Life of Pi, is not from here, but he chooses to live here and write here. So, we have, this place it's hopping. We have a very, I'll just give you one more example. We have a very, what would you say, active, I suppose, amateur writing group here. They have events and they have contests. I was honored to be asked to judge one of those one year. And then the Writers Guild. They are just absolutely fabulous, unbelievable to work with. Just always coming up with great ideas, have fabulous publications, and I can't say enough about them. They are incredible. So, yeah, this is an incredible, and it's not just writing. Saskatchewan is a very, very, very strong artistic community in general. And I wonder sometimes if it's the rigors of our winters and our summers. These, you have to make something out of the weather and the plains and the endless skies. And it's, I don't know. There's something inspiring about the landscape in good ways and in bad ways, absolutely. And it's a beautiful place. So related slightly to the Crime Writers of Canada, I will be hosting an event for the Saskatchewan Writers Guild on February, I want to say it's the 7th. I will check that. Pretty sure it's the 7th with H.P. Vane, one of our members who writes paranormal mysteries, and to talk about her journey from being a crime reporter to becoming a full-time author. And it's a very inspiring story, and she is a remarkable human being. And if anybody wants to wiggle in on that, I'm pretty sure you could figure out how to get in if you got in touch with the Writers Guild. It's going to be a very good event.
I think it's on the website, and they even have a contest open to all Canadians right now too. Like I said, I follow their newsletter. They're very, very active. And always put on some good shows. So
They
I
do. They also have, virtual writers in residence and, all kinds of support um, elements of various kinds that writers in Saskatchewan can take advantage of. And it's just wonderful. Yeah. I'm very proud to be a member of that group as well.
Well, I'm glad you're a member of us too. You
Thank
and I are
you.
going to work together and bring on some more of the great Saskatchewan writers on this show or different shows. But I look forward to speaking with them, and it was a pleasure talking to you today. Thanks,
Oh,
Joe.
it's my pleasure, Eric. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And go Saskatchewan writers. And know we're here for you.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for watching.